everybody, and welcome back to the Ash Gracie
Powered by
podcast.
Riverside FM.
Today, I really want to talk about something that has been one of the lessons that I've taken away from being away from LA and UCLA, and it's when you realize that you're not who you were anymore. It's a feeling that I feel is fairly common, but no one really knows how to name it, and no one really talks about it because it's quiet. It comes subtly, not this big realization ever. And it's something that has been on my mind the last few weeks as I've been back and adjusting to being away from it all. And I want that this episode reaches the version of you that keeps changing and keeps growing. Because what you want isn't always going to be the same, and it's okay that your dreams change and that you change. And it's also okay to not have all the answers. You don't always need to know who you are becoming, as long as you have understood and processed the fact that you are not who you used to be. And I think a good place to start is knowing that growing up sometimes means grieving the versions of you that were before. And there's in terms of personal growth, there's a lot of discussion about reinventing yourself and becoming your best self and all these glow ups and things that we social media and the world throws our way sometimes. But even though those things are great and reinventing yourselves and becoming the person you want to be is incredible, there can also be this duality of missing the version of you that you used to be, and that's also okay. And it's interesting. I'm sitting here and I'm looking at the room that I'm in, and it's mine, but it also doesn't feel like it belongs to me because it feels like it belongs to the 16-year-old who lived here for a year before going off to university. And it's an interesting thing to acknowledge because she wasn't my favorite person. She wasn't the person that I want to be. And I didn't like her very much. But I also know that if it weren't for her, I wouldn't be here. My dreams are for her, the girl that wanted to get out but couldn't. And so I'm grateful that I went through those things and I was those versions of myself because it got me to where I am now. But I also know that I have the ability to be different and choose differently and be a different version of myself, and that's okay. But the thing that's complicated is knowing that I want to be different, but not knowing what that looks like, who that could be. That's the tricky part. When you don't know who you are, it's a liminal space because you're not the person that you used to be, but you haven't become the new version yet. And it's this in between. It's kind of how I feel right now. It's like after leaving LA, but haven't moved to London yet. Being between stages of life, between homes, figuring out where you feel like you belong, what you're doing next, who you want to be. The world always asks us for certainty and always asks us to have a plan. And a lot of the time, we just don't know. And I'm slowly learning that that can be okay because this kind of middle part that we're in, this phase of transition, this phase of life, that's where all of the things happen. Where the mess is made, where you figure out what you want, and how you figure out how to make all your dreams come true. And it's hard to be in this place. It's hard to sit here and not know. And it's scary. I don't like not knowing. But I've learned that it's so valuable and that this is where you learn the most. And so I want you to let yourself breathe and let yourself change and allow yourself to form new goals and new dreams. Just because your dreams are different than your younger selves, you're not letting them down. In fact, you're serving them by not following through on things that don't serve you anymore. And acknowledging the fact that you've changed and that you're a different person is a sign of healing, not betraying what you knew. And not everyone's gonna understand that, especially as I know a lot of my friends are, moving back home at least temporarily after college. Not everyone's going to understand that you're a different person now than you were 4 years ago because they'll want the version of you that was easier for them. The one who didn't stand up for themselves and set boundaries, and the ones who just kind of pushed through the things that hurt because it was easier for everyone else. But you don't owe anyone that. You don't owe anyone a performance of what your past self would have done because you're not them anymore. And you're allowed to acknowledge that. And your alignment, your peace, and your self respect is worth more than relationships that don't serve you and don't believe in your potential. Because believing in your past self is one thing, But if they don't believe in your potential to grow and be an incredible person, then they don't really want the best for you, I think. So sit with me and acknowledge your past self. Maybe write a letter to them. Maybe say some words out loud to them and acknowledge that you can put them behind. Because as much as they are to thank for your progress and your growth, you are not them anymore and it's time to move forward with no judgment, just love and breathe it out. And you might not know exactly who you're becoming, but you're allowed to start with the small things, the small truths, the small explanations of who you are, the small introductions to the new people that you meet. Maybe write down a list of things that you value now that you didn't before, or cross off things that you used to value then that you don't now. And the things that you learn, because you're always going to be learning, are going to teach you more and more of that person that you want to be. And know that there is no definition of you that is going to be finite because things keep changing and things keep growing and evolving. And that's what's real. So just go with it. Go with what keeps you curious, what makes you feel alive. And if you feel like you need to begin again, then do it. So know that if this is how you're feeling, you're not behind, you're not lost, you're just growing, and that's okay. With that, I thank you for listening, and I'll see you next week. And as always, don't forget, you are amazing, you are loved, and I thank you for being here.